Hello and welcome to Wellness Live. My name is Dr. Olivia Moses, and this presentation is brought to you by the Living Whole program here at Loma Linda University Health. Now, we have a very exciting presentation for you today, and here at Loma Linda, as you may know, we are interested in your whole health. So not just your physical health and all these pieces of your health, we are really interested in your whole health. And what's interesting is we also have to look at our whole health and what is important, how these pieces fit together, how we pay attention to all of them. And we have a wonderful speaker for you today. She is actually my personal primary care physician. She is actually one of our primary care physicians here at Loma Linda University Health that everyone wants to be her patient. So her name is Dr. Margarete Ezinwa, and she is here. She is the medical director in our Department of Family Medicine here at Loma Linda University Health, and she's here to talk about whole health and you. So without further ado, Dr. Ezinwa.
Thank you, Dr. Moses. You are just too kind. It is actually a real privilege to be able to be here. I think, as you said, it's so important that we're thinking about wholeness and we're thinking about wellness. So I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank the Wellness Institute for the opportunity to be here and chat with you. I also want to say that this is really daunting because I'm used to presenting a cut and dried scientific presentation on global health and lifestyle medicine. And yet I think that this is something which matters the most, and yet we talk about the least. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then start presenting. So let me share this one and then let me present. Has it gone through to presentation mode for you?
Not yet. There we go.
Fantastic. So really asking each one of you a question. We have 30 brief minutes to discuss whole health in you. It doesn't even give us a chance to scratch the surface. But I can share some of my ideas, and only you know your own unique answer to this question. What makes you whole? So I invite you to keep thinking about it for these 30 minutes and beyond as well. It may be family, faith, tradition. It may be that you are a mountain person or you are a beach person. It may be that you also really find wholeness in this serving profession that you have chosen. And I want to give a moment really to thank you all, because the fact that you are Loma Linda means that you have chosen to serve. And that is amazing. So you're already on this road to whole health. It may be our interaction with cute, cuddly animals. It can also be, engaging in your cultural traditions, and why not other people's cultural traditions as well. And it can also be really nourishing, taking time to nourish this body that we have for this short time on earth. So keep thinking about the question, what makes you whole? A little boy climbed up on the chair, and he was about 90% encrusted with sand and salt, and his pants were still a little damp from the sea. And he threw his arms around my neck, and he looked back over his shoulder at two of his sisters who were building a sandcastle, and he looked up to the sky, and there were just little wisps of cloud and a blue, it's just springtime, so that beautiful light blue spring sky. And then he looked at me and he planted a lovely but rather sloppy and somewhat sandy kiss on my cheek. And he said, "Be happy, Mummy." And just the simplicity of whole health for a child is so lovely. But it gets muddied as we grow and we understand more and we gather more responsibilities. And we are really multi-dimensional beings. And I want to thank Dr. Reichert for that saying. Multidimensional beings is so true. We're really complex beings, and yet it doesn't have to be complicated. Finding whole health is simply a decision that you can make, and you can continue to make that decision and show up for yourself every day of your life, literally starting today. So what is whole health? Well, the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine, I had to slide at least one definition in, defines whole health as physical, behavioral, social, and socioeconomic well-being. But again, think of your own unique answer to what makes you whole, and then keep incorporating that answer into your life. In previous lectures, we've already had some wonderful ideas. I want to thank the Wellness Institute again, and some fantastic insights we've learned about things like, I think it was Dr. Steve Dunbar who spoke about the power of the ocean in his talk on the deep blue. And Dr. Melissa Perot spoke about really music and light and life and the importance of unplugging from our devices. I know it's ironic that you all have to be on your devices to watch this talk, but that the importance of also taking the time offline as well as online. And our very own Dr. Richard Hart spoke on the importance of serving the community. And it's actually in that transaction that you can find meaning. The challenge is how. So let's talk about how. Steve Covey, the author of the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, often said that common sense isn't always common practice, and that he himself found it really difficult to live out the 7 habits that he spoke about, because it's a constant struggle every day. As you reach one sort of peak, then the challenge changes, and as you understand more, you can engage more. So there are millions of books and movies and essays and TikToks on what makes us happy. But I believe that true joy comes from wholeness. And I think that there's 4 simple concepts that I would like to talk about that can help you on the journey. Just simply, your time is yours. Your thoughts are yours. Your health is yours. And your actions are yours. So firstly, let's talk about the idea that your time is yours. What an amazing gift. Dr. Brené Brown, in her book, Dare to Lead, quotes Mark DeVoe, the same quote, that time is the most valuable, non-renewable resource that we have. So how are you spending your time? One practical thing is that you could simply start by writing down a list of your values, and then write down how you spent your time yesterday, how you spent your time in the last week. And then you can compare that list of values with the list of how you spend your time. And you can look at them. Does the way you spend your time reflect your values? And if not, why not? And I know we could talk so much more about this, but for more practical advice, I think a great place to start is simply The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey. Yes, I think that's it. That's so much more we could say, but that's enough for today. Another thing, is, do you feel guilty about how you spend your time and when you spend it on your own health? If so, you are certainly not alone. But I keep being reminded of the 2 most important commands. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So beautiful. That true grace allows, even mandates, you to put on your own oxygen mask first, before and so that you can serve others. Secondly, your thoughts are yours, and they are incredibly powerful. Your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and your actions create your results. book Castillo, she summarized it so succinctly, and this is quoted actually from her business, the Life Coach School. And yet she, like Covey, doesn't take credit for the concepts themselves. She describes them really as ancient wisdom, and she has made it her life work to summarize them, to make them easy to understand, and to explain them in a way that makes this simple model actually doable for you and for me and for anyone. So now I think that we're going to break for some questions. Am I right, Olivia?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Ezinwa. I love the idea that you kind of presented that these are ours. We have control over it, because I think a lot of times many of us live our lives like life is happening to us and not we are controlling it. So thank you for making that. Now, we do have some questions coming through. And this one I think is a fair question in that it says, what are some common misconceptions about whole health?
So that is a great question. And I think that some common misconceptions that, we're working on this definition. Mm-hmm. So one thing that people do think is that it does not include allopathic medicine. That really, if you're doing whole health, then you're not going to take any medications. You're just going to meditate yourself out of any situation, and that you may use some alternative medicine, but no allopathic medicine. I really think that whole health encompasses all of who you are, and also all of the tools that you have at your disposal. So that is one common misconception.
I completely agree, because the way I term it is people think that looking at your whole health and not your physical health, because a lot of people just focus on that, but really talking about your thoughts, like you talked about, your time that you talked about. A lot of people think it's like touchy-feely, mumbo jumbo. You have to be kind of, way on the spectrum of hippie to really, focus on these things. But I think a lot of it, first of all, it is evidence-based, that we know that if we don't focus on our entire health, they all talk to each other. All parts of our life and our body and mind talk to each other. So thank you for saying that. It is not touchy-feely mumbo jumbo. It is evidence-based practices that we're really talking about here. Another question they talked about is, what are some common obstacles that prevent people from making time for whole health activities? And I hope I'm not sharing too much, Dr. Ezinwa, but you are a woman in the workforce, in leadership, as the medical director of an entire department here at Loma Linda. You are a mom, you're a wife. If you know the challenges, the challenges of this. So how would you advise someone who say, time is a factor here?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I do think that we often see time as working on us and outside our control. And it's actually, what is it, Women's History Month this month. Thank you, Eric, for reminding me. And I think that there are some wonderful opportunities that now we can be a mother and a working mother, or we can be, both busy in the workforce and have a passion project. Mm-hmm. But each one of us has the same amount of time. And I think that just acknowledging that we are given this time, and we are also given the power to manage our time, that is a huge gift. It's also a huge responsibility. But I think that is a really big thing, that acknowledging our time is ours and we decide. And if you decide, yes, I am going to work 17 hours a day because that's important for providing for my family, and this is a space where I'm going to neglect my physical health, then that is a decision that you are making. And there's no right or wrong decisions. It's just a matter of thinking about them and living intentionally. That is the challenge.
Right. So let's say I'm a viewer and I am on this path of, I haven't paid attention. And now, after hearing you speak, I'm going to pay attention. What kind of conversations do you need to have with yourself? And do we need to have conversations with the people around us, knowing that we're making this change? How does that work?
Ooh, I love it. It's such a big question. I certainly can't do it justice just in this space, but I love the way you also said to start with yourself. You have to have that conversation with yourself. And even if there is nothing that you take from this talk other than thinking about what makes you whole, that is a win. Just thinking about what makes you whole. And if you do want to think further about sort of four tools on your journey, then thinking about that for yourself, absolutely, as you said, Dr. Moses, is really the first step. And then, however that develops organically in your life, you may make the decisions that, yes, then the people around you are the next people to talk to about it. It may be that you need to make some internal changes before even talking to anybody, and then reaching out, because none of us live in isolation, and none of us, we're not designed to live alone. So for us to be able to come around and know that we're all on this journey, we're all searching for whole health, and that through whole health, you're actually nourishing yourself, but everybody who comes in contact with you as well. That is really an important concept as well. So to do it in community.
Wonderful. Another question, getting back to the question, it was obstacles, and I think motivation can be an obstacle as well. I think many of us get used to just feeling sick and just going through the motions, and that turns into a lifestyle and that type of thing. So finding the motivation to get better. What advice would you give someone who's really having a hard time potentially finding the motivation?
I think it's going back to your values. I really do, because any goal is only as important as the value that you place on it. So you need to really, really be strong in, why am I doing this? And it might feel completely different if you think, I am doing this because I am a child of God, and I have the grace and the responsibility to nourish my own body. You could be doing this and saying, it is really important that I see my granddaughter graduate. And that's different to just thinking, oh yeah, I really want to look like a swimsuit model, or I'm doing this because I know I'm supposed to. So
Sure.
Finding your own intrinsic motivation is the be all and the end all. But then once we've found that, you have to go back to it again and again and again and highlight those values, because there will be barriers. No matter what the path, there will be barriers. So once you've got that and distilled your mission and your vision and your values, then coming back to that every day, every week, looking at how your values in the past have aligned, say, with the last week or with the last month, and what you want to change going forth. That's an ongoing process.
Oh, excellent. Well, why don't we get back to your presentation, the second half of it?
Okay, thank you. Screen share again. And right. Thirdly, your health is yours. So you are the center of your own healthcare team, and you are the center of your own modifiable health. Last week, a gentleman got a message on my chart from his physician that said, congratulations, you have done it. And in August of last year, he had been told that his HbA1c was 11.9. Now, HbA1c is a measure of diabetes, and the fact that it was 11.9 means that it was like completely in the uncontrolled range for diabetes. His sugars were out of control, his life was out of control, and he was at really high risk of having a stroke, of having a heart attack, and of other complications. Exactly as you spoke to just now, actually, Dr. Moses. He had a lot of reasons why this had happened. why he didn't have time to exercise, why he was not nourishing his body in a healthy way. And they were actually really legitimate reasons.
Dr. Ezinwa, your screen is not shared.
Oh, it's still not sharing?
Yeah, no
Thank
worries.
you. Thank you for letting me know. Let me see. Why is this not shared? It's sharing on my side. Are you seeing it now?
No.
Let me just go by and share again. Is it shared now?
It is shared now. And if you put it in presentation mode.
Fantastic. I'm going to just present from this slide. Sorry, this computer is going quite slowly. Are you seeing the slide with
Yes.
a woman at the center of her health care now?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Beautiful. So let me go through to that. Thank you for letting me know as well. That's really important. So he was really at high risk for all of these. And he had really valid reasons as to why he had got into this situation. But yet, he took responsibility for all the modifiable things that he could do. He started taking medication. He learned about how to eat healthily. He learned about exercise. And every day he showed up for himself. Sometimes when the scale was not changing, or when his weight actually went up rather than down, even when he had a small injury and he wasn't able to exercise, he kept deciding that he trusted himself enough and that he had been given the power to be able to modify his own health, and that it was his responsibility. Just as important as providing for his family was providing for his own health needs in order to be able to provide for them. So he would do everything that he could. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago, and his HbA1c was down to 4.8. Now, that's not uncontrolled diabetes. That's not even in the controlled diabetes range. That's not in the pre-diabetes range. That's actually in the range of somebody who does not have diabetes at all. And he was able to do that without any hypoglycemia. So he did it slowly and steadily, but he made all the right decisions. And as I say, he confronted each barrier as it came and stayed true to his values and what motivated him, and kept showing up for himself every day. So that, I think, is just one small example, and we all have them. I know that you have them, both in your own lives and in the lives of those who you care for. Examples of small wins, and focusing on that positive and focusing on the small as well as the big wins. That, I think, is what can keep you motivated as well. Fourthly, your actions. Just the fact that your actions are yours. Your actions have the power to influence your own health, your own wholeness. They also have a ripple effect. And they influence those around you. They influence the environment, and we could say the whole known universe. The decisions that you make around how you live, around how you consume, around how you spread kindness, around how you love, all of those influence both, again, your own whole health, but also this fragile planet that we have to take care of. So I have a very simple summary, and I want to leave plenty of time for questions at the end so that it can be really tailored for you, because this 30 minutes is your time. I just want you to think about what makes you whole. Your time, your thoughts, your health, your actions, and work with them. Work with them intentionally. Finally, I'd like to finish with a question and a quote from a dear friend and teacher and mentor to me, Dr. William G. Johnson, who embodied whole health for almost 90 years. He passed away 3 weeks ago. And in his last book, the last book which he wrote, and this is it, it's called Living in Love, he asks this question: what is life all about? This life, so beautiful and so ugly, so wonderful and so monstrous. What does it mean? A word written long ago by the Apostle John says it best. God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. And as we live in God, our love grows more perfect. So, my dear friends, live in love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ezinwa. That was a beautiful conclusion to this discussion today. We do have some questions coming in. One of the questions is, how do social connections and relations impact whole health?
Yes, it's such an important component that we are created to be social. And I think that social connections, actually, when you think what erodes whole health, I think the erosion of social connections that Dr. Perot spoke about beautifully, the fact that we interface so much more with technology. Even right now, I'm staring at a camera rather than being able to see all of your beautiful faces. And social connections are the meshwork that gives us the strength to develop our own whole health, but also which creates the possibility and the potential. When you see the love and the light in somebody else, that connection is enabling their whole health and enabling them to really be seen. That loving observation in itself is healing.
Mm-hmm. On a flip side to that, because I completely agree, that connection with another person can be life-giving to you and motivating as well. However, sorry about my camera, but what a question is here is basically what happens when that social connection is not healthy. So when you're going on that journey, is there maybe some connections we potentially have to say goodbye to on our whole health journey as well?
Yes, your own journey is completely unique, and there are going to be difficult decisions as well as easy decisions. Absolutely. And I think that only you can answer the questions, each one of us for ourselves. That there are, as you say, there's times where you do need to let go of a social connection if you see the toxicity either for them or for yourself or for both, that it really comes back again to you living your values. And sometimes it's easier to focus on where you want to go than to realize the barriers that are preventing you from truly living your values. And sometimes those can be some of the social connections.
Absolutely. Another question that we had come up is, how do you believe one's mindset plays a role in achieving whole health?
Oh, mindset is everything. And I touched on it only briefly, the concept of coaching and life coaching, but the power of your thoughts is everything. Not to just be Pollyanna-ish and say everything is wonderful and positive and positive and positive, but to really be intentional about turning to the positive and about focusing on the light and on the resilience of your potential mindset as well. I think that those are all really key components. We talk about mindset a lot. So I love that there's a question about it, because it's really one of the linchpins, one of the most important things. And a lot of whole health comes from having the right mindset. So the first step in that is acknowledging that your thoughts are your own and you have the power to control.
You know, a lot of times we as adults, we learn about whole health later on. After a lot of habits, a lot of maybe good and bad habits are formed, and now we're trying to focus on whole health, and it's a whole learning process. How do we teach whole health to our children, and when is it appropriate to teach them?
Oh, another great question. So, the whole concept, I think that you can start teaching whole health to your children before they are born, because the way that you are speaks volumes, and who you are going to be your child's hero, no matter what. So the way that you live your life is one of the most powerful lessons to your children. The question is to when to articulate it so that they can do it intentionally. It's actually beautiful, because if you live knowing that God is good and the world is good, even though there is this present darkness, that in itself radiates to the children and gives them security and gives them the knowledge that there is this loving being, and there is also you both who love them. That gives an amazing stability, and the rest may grow. I have 4 children, and my oldest is 12, and it's just at that stage where she's really wrestling with some of these. Why do I have to go to school, and why can't I be grumpy, and what happens, and what is the impact on the rest of the family? So I think then, taking responsibility for thoughts, that's a time when the questions are asked, I think is the time that you can be honest about it.
Great, thank you. And for our last question here today, let's say someone wants to now start focusing on this. What are some of the first steps that we need to do to kind of start this journey?
Beautiful. What a beautiful way to start and to begin. I think with starting to think about what makes you whole, to think about what your values are, and to just know that you have the power and the responsibility over how you spend your time, over how really, your time aligns with your values. Also, to think about your own health and your own actions. That is a great place to start. And then whatever that leads you to, if it is the area of distilling your values, then the 7 habits of highly effective people. If it is an area of how do I actually change my mindset, then thinking about just that model from Brooke Castillo and other life coaching. And I know that this is a medical space, but I just have to say that so many of the answers are in the Bible. And if you take the time, that whatever book, whatever tradition really nourishes your soul, to take the time to go back to that tradition is incredibly powerful as well. And then practically here at Loma Linda, we have lots of options. We have several of your options. Dr. Moses and the whole of the Wellness Institute with risk, and, the Say Now program and the Build program for diabetes. We have an intensive therapeutic lifestyle change program with April Wilson in the Department of Preventive Medicine. And we have now in family medicine also a 12 weeks to change your life. And that is just to name a few. We have an inpatient. So there are many, many opportunities, and it's finding your own path. But start with your values. Look at the 4 things that we've talked about today, and good luck. We're here with you on your journey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ezinwa. That's a beautiful way to end our presentation today. And talking about time, I want to thank each of you as viewers for spending this time with us. We know your time is valuable, and we are just so excited that you are part of the Wellness Live family. Now, I want to invite you to next presentations. It is going to be on April 27th, and that will be noon Pacific Standard Time. And we are going to be talking about an important topic, the important topic of sleep. So what is good sleep and how can you get it? We have Dr. Tori Van Dyke from our School of Behavioral Health will be our guest. So again, my name is Dr. Olivia Moses. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.